It's almost so similar but so different, and this one doesn't hard pan. And then Outa from Beauty Creations is more sheer. It's actually, I would say color-wise, very similar to Straight Fire, and that shade is $5, so it is $1 or less. And that one doesn't feel hard pressed and doesn't hard pan. And just a little bit of a close-up here so you can see the slight textural difference as well. Lithium has way more sparkle throughout it. I think Filthy Rich has a little bit more of an olive tone to it, especially kind of straight on compared to the other two shades, which are very similar to each other. But you can really see the extreme sparkle from Lithium, and then just a little bit of a close-up so you can see the dispersion of the sparkles there. I'm going to be priming with just a little bit of this Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer just to cancel out my veins a little bit. So first up is White Hot. I'm just going to use my fingers. It's like a white silvery sparkle. Not really a base that I can see. Champagne Showers. Really like the look of this one a lot. This one has a little bit of a light orangey base to it, and here's a flash so you can see the sparkle. Pop of Pink is the first shade I swatched right when I got these, and I gotta say this one is very, very subtle. It's definitely too subtle for me. I prefer the other two previous shades. Like it's there, but it's kind of like a slightly wet look. It's Glit, which is a gold, light champagne gold. With Flash for the sparkle effect. Straight Fire. Excited to see this one on the lid. It's got a little bit of that wet sheen to it. These all have a very, very, very finely milled pigment. Like none of these have any sort of sparkles just sitting on top like the Mundus shadows. It's very, very pretty, definitely very dimensional, and has a little bit of a shift in it. And then Filthy Rich is last. Very pigmented, has a nice sheen to it. Really like this one. With Flash. On the lid right now I have the shade Filthy Rich as this eyeshadow wing, and then I also have Champagne Flowers on this inner portion of my lid, kind of swooping up into my crease. And I do really like the way they look on the lid. They very much have a wet effect look. They look very, very smooth. You definitely don't have to worry about these accentuating your skin texture. Now, how do these compare to the Urban Decay Mood shadows? I think generally speaking, they're not as sparkly, and that could be, you know, like a plus or minus depending on what you're looking for. Everyone has a different preference, so it's really going to come down to, do you like the way that they look on the lid? Do you like the effect? Is that something that you prefer to use? And based on my preferences, I don't really like the shade Pop Off Pink. I think that it's just a little bit subpar, especially compared to some of the other shades that are really beautiful, really have that wet look. This is literally just kind of like barely any sparkle, like very, very finely milled, barely any sparkle. Like I'm not even sure honestly if people would be able to tell you have eyeshadow on if you wore this and they were a little further away, maybe up close, maybe depending on if there was sunlight hitting your lids, they could see a little bit of sparkle. But I just think this one is a little bit different from all of these. But of course, if you saw the way this looked on the lid, you saw how it looked in a swatch, and this is exactly what you're looking for, then you can completely disregard everything I just said, because it really comes down to preference. So what I might consider as a dud might be something that's actually right up your alley. As for my favorite shades, I definitely really like Champagne Showers. I think it's a really nice everyday, super soft, wet effect look without being overly sparkly. I don't see these having the same issue as the Urban Decay Moondas shadows, which is fallout. And I have so much fallout with the Urban Decay Moondas shadows. Even with a tacky primer, I still get fallout throughout the day with those. Also, the two shades I used on my lid picked up really great with a brush. You can also pick them up and then mist your brushes a little bit with some water to help with spreadability, and also to get them even more opaque, you could use a tacky tacky primer if you really wanted to ensure longevity as well as no fallout. Now, I can't speak on wear time on these so far, but they do feel drier. They're not overly emollient, they're not squishy or anything like that, so I don't think that I will have any creasing issues, but I will report back. I will let you know. At this point, most things crease on me. If you're new to my channel, I do have hooded oily lids, so I definitely prefer this kind of formula where it's a little bit on the drier side. Some of the shades do feel a little bit harder pressed than other shades, and they are starting to hard pan already because I have been doing swatches and comparisons and all that. So Pop Off Pink is one of the shades that is hard panning a little bit, and then Straight Fire also as well. And then I feel like actually the shade White Hot, for example, and Filthy Rich, they have a little bit of a slightly different texture where they don't feel like they're harder pressed. I'm not sure exactly how to like best describe it. If you want more shine but you don't want to pay $24 for an eyeshadow, definitely check out the Beauty Creations. I don't remember what these are called actually. Single pressed shadows. They have a lot of these. I'm not sure exactly how many, but I have 4 shades and these are so beautiful. They're $5 each. Packaging is nice and sturdy as well. Feels like the same kind of plastic as the e.l.f. and the Munda shadows. I think these are a steal and deserve more hype. It completely comes down to preference. I do really like these because I do like a little bit more shine, but I can definitely appreciate the e.l.f. shades as well. So I think $6 feels like a pretty good price range for these, with the exception of the shade Pop Off Pink. As I mentioned, I feel like this one should have been like $2. So let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking any of these up, which shade is your favorite. And if you love sparkly eyeshadows, I have so many videos up just like this up on my channel. There will be 2 recommended videos up on the screen so you can keep watching. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.